Hey everybody, Glenn here with a follow-up video to our pre-grading series that we had. Um, Anybody that's watched those videos know that we sent in two different cards. We did a pre-grading on a 2021 Tom Brady Mosaic, which I have right here. And then we also did a 1953 Bowman Dante Lavelli, which didn't go so well. We'll get right into it. We'll start with the Tom Brady Mosaic, so you can see that it's right here. And just to kind of review real quick before we get into it, what we had predicted would happen, or what I had predicted would happen, was two things. One was I assumed we would get a 9 on centering, a 9 on corners, a 9.5 on edges, and an 8.5 on surface. Now, two things kind of surprised me coming back from this. One was the surface grade, and one was the centering. So, as you can see here, here's the card. Come back, let me get that to focus in there. You can see that we ended up getting a Gem Mint 9.5. And there we go. Centering got a 10. Corners got a 9.5. Edges got a 9.5. And surface got a 9.5. Now, if you recall, there was one corner on this thing that had a little bit of a ding on it. And I thought that it might cost it the 9.5, but it turns out that it didn't. The thing that I thought would get us on surface was there's actually some like print lines that run across the back of this. And I have a picture that I'll bring up here to show you. Hold on one second. Let me get over to screen share here. So this is a picture that I took from the video that I actually posted when we went through the surface video, and you can see right through here there's kind of these like roller lines or print lines, whatever you want to call them, lines that got put across the back of the card during the manufacturing of the card. And I was concerned that these lines, with SGC being so critical on surface grading, would cause us to take a hit on surface. But what it turns out to be is obviously that didn't happen. Another thing that I found interesting about surface was, if you've been keeping up with my videos, I did a video recently about potential surface defects on Mosaic cards. And as you can see right here, you have these weird little, I'll call it, misses in the foil or in the pattern that looks like surface defects. And this card is actually worse. You can see that it actually comes across here and all the way up, and then across here again, right through Tom Brady's tongue sticking out. And I thought this might be a factor in why Mosaics were getting worse surface grades than anticipated. But as you can see here, it didn't have any effect. So excuse me, I have a couple more Mosaics that I'll be sending in that have this on there. So I'll be interested to see if this holds true, and this particular little blemish on the front continues to not have any impact on the surface grade. But so overall I'm happy that it didn't have the effect, but I was kind of shocked that it did not. So that was the surface thing. When it comes to centering, I was a little bit surprised. So as you let me get back over to the screen here. So as we look at this card, you can see that it got a 10 on centering. And when we did the original evaluation, you can see that I saw it was 57-43 one way on the front, 53-47 the other way. Obviously 50-50 being perfect, which is what you would need for 10 centering in both directions. And then on the back, it was even a little bit further off. So I was a little bit surprised that I got a 10 on centering. So I went back and I took some additional measurements. So the only way that I could actually get this to come even close was, you can see here when I zoom way in, I usually was taking my length from right here at the top. Oop, that didn't work. Right here from the top of this mark right here to the top of the card. But if I actually measure it from where the actual logo begins to the top, I get around 1.58 centimeters. Like I said, don't hold that. The only way I could even get close to that on the bottom was if I went from the bottom of the card to the top of the wording here. Now, I have been measuring from the bottom of the wording to the bottom of the card, and it gets nowhere near 50-50 if I do that. The only other points of reference I would have at the bottom necessarily would be, from the bottom to right here. So I looked at it as either from the bottom to the bottom of the word would be actual centering. But then the top of the word gets us close. This is obviously way over. And even if I come over here and try to use, a portion of this emblem, it's still higher than this 1.53. So that was the only way I could even get it close to 50-50. From left to right, kind of the same thing. When we did the video, I went from the outermost point of the name to the edge, which in this case was 1.2 centimeters. And then over here, I would normally go from the edge of the card to right here at the edge of this symbol, which would obviously be longer than the 1.2. I think it comes in like 1.35 or something like that. So not bad, but not 50-50 either. So the only way I could even get it close was, and it's hard to see, but if you see on this emblem, there's actually like a little bit of a foil pattern that comes right, you can see kind of a white line right there. And if I actually came to that point, then I got extremely close to what I got if I went to the outer edge of the name. So I'm interested again to see how this plays out, because I have a lot more mosaic cards that I'm going to be sending in. And as I said, I've been using to the bottom of the words, which I thought made the most sense, measuring centering, and then I was using from the edge right here to the edge of the card. And if I do that, as shown in the previous video, we were getting excuse me, top to bottom, we were getting 57-43 and 43-57. So I'm assuming this right here is actually the top to bottom is where we were getting that at. But anyways, we ended up getting a 10. So I'm happy with the grades. I'm happy with the card and the outcome of the card. I'm a little bit surprised by some of that. The edges got a 9.5, the corners got a 9.5, which is only half a grade from what I expected. But the centering and the surface, we learned a couple things. So what I'm going to do is, like I said, when I send in the next set of mosaics that I have to send in, I'll be curious to see if the grades keep up, if those marks on the surface do in fact continue to not have an impact on it, if the centering is in fact kind of how we're seeing it measured out here, which is different than how I measured it initially. So it'll be interesting to see from a consistency standpoint if that follows through. So we'll be coming back to this card in a later video. But overall, I thought it would get a 9. It ended up getting a 9.5, so a little bit better than I thought. So I overgraded it a little bit, undergraded it a little bit. But overall, I'm happy with it. So there you go. That's the first card. If you're interested in this card, by the way, it is currently up on eBay under my eBay username Deviation SCB. So you can go over there and bid on it. I think it ends in a couple days here. Excuse me, I'm coughing a little bit. The reason I haven't done this video up to this point was because I had a cold this past week, so I've been trying to get over that, and a little bit difficult to do videos when you're hacking all over the place. And one thing I didn't mention that I should bring up real quick is here's the turnaround time for this. And I think this is something that's important because CSG's really got their stuff together when it comes to turnaround times. When I submitted these cards, I actually submitted them on an economy order, and you can see at the time the economy order was a 45-day expected turnaround. And what we ended up with was an actual 5 days. So they got this thing on the 21st of February. They shipped it back to me on the 28th of February. I ended up getting it a little bit later in the week, so I've had these cards now for a little bit over a week. Like I said, I've been sick, so that's why I haven't done the follow-up video. But I just blew the 45 days out of the water completely, which, I'm extremely happy with. Since, I had submitted these, they've actually gone back and they did a lot of updates to their turnaround times. But this was an economy order, so it's not like this was a standard order or a walkthrough, I believe is what they call their fast one. So overall, very, very impressed with the turnaround time on these cards. Was not expecting that at all. Okay, so with that being said, we're going to get into the second card, which unfortunately we aren't going to be able to verify the grade. And the grading, I thought that it was going to come back a 4.5. I thought it would get an 8 on centering, a 4.5 on corners, a 5 on edges, and a 4.5 on surface. Now, what we ended up getting back, unfortunately, was evidence of trimming, which kind of surprised me. So I kind of went back and did a little bit of research on this to try to see if there was a way that I could detect whether trimming had happened or not. And it was standard reason. I had another card that I had sent out. It was, as you can see, a 1954 Bowman John Bower, which also came back with evidence of trimming and short on the overall length. So I do like when they do send something back. You can see here where it says evidence of trimming, and then they kind of marked the front bottom to indicate that that's where they thought the evidence of trimming existed. So what I did to go back and kind of look at these, since we didn't get a grade, but to see, again, the purpose of this is to learn as well. So I ended up scanning these cards in again, and when I did it this time, I put a black and white filter on it, as you can clearly see here. And the reason I did that was because I wanted to create a stark contrast between the background and the actual card to see if I could get a good feel for why they were saying it was trimmed. So the best example I think that I can come up with is if you look at this card, if I zoom in, real far, the top of it, actually looks pretty clean. But, you can see some different wear and striations going on through here. The corners obviously were a little bit messed up. As you come down the side of the card here, you can see there's quite a bit of imperfection, which is pretty common with older cards and the older stock. In fact, sometimes when you're looking for trimming, I think you're looking for almost that perfect straight line, or it's not quite the same. So when you kind of look at this edge here and then you look at the bottom, look how much cleaner the bottom looks. I mean, it looks almost perfectly straight. And even when there is some slight variations, it's almost like a straight line with a change and then another straight line and a change and another straight line. So it just doesn't kind of match the left side there. And again, you can kind of see here, even you got a kind of a choppy sort of straight line here, and then it definitely almost changes direction here at the end. And this is something that I didn't notice when I was looking at it before. And I think I only notice it really now, number one, because I was, indicated to look in that area. But number two, because I have the real stark contrast here. So one thing I do when I scan my cards, I actually put a piece of black construction paper between the lid and the cards themselves, so I get that nice dark background. And I usually have only done that just so when I post cards on eBay, you can clearly see any kind of wear, edge wear, corner wear, because I don't want people to pay a price thinking they're getting something that they're not. But I didn't do that in this case, and when I turn on the black and white filter, it actually really makes it stand out. And I think even when you look at this corner on the right, you can see, there's lots of, fraying and, just some imperfections that are just completely not there on the bottom. Now, kind of verify that, I actually went and scanned the John Bower card as well, which also said, the top to bottom length was a little bit short. And then also, there was some evidence of trimming. So just to kind of see if I was seeing the same type of effect on the card, again, you can kind of see here, going down the left side, quite a bit of, just, I would say, natural. You see a lot, this is kind of symbolic of some fraying or some, not really an uneven cut, but just, the thicker stock cardboard with some fraying on the edges. And then when you get down to the bottom, look how straight and clean that bottom looks comparatively to what that left side looks like. And then you get over here to the right side, and it's very comparable to the left side. Again, a lot of those small imperfections that really kind of show up in this black and white filter. And then when you get to the top, you're going to notice that it looks very similar to the bottom. And again, you kind of have that weird uneven thing going on right here. But you don't have that fraying, and you got something kind of weird going on right here, some little kind of bump, which is interesting. So from my takeaway, I guess maybe this is something I'll have to try to start doing, especially on vintage cards, to maybe indicate to me that there might be an issue with trimming on the particular card. That's the only way that I've been able to really spot it. Now, I'm sure there's some videos out there that show, probably in a little bit more detail, what you can do to spot trimming. But that's kind of the way I was able to find out using the tools that I was already using that would kind of support what was being said with these cards. So another thing that I wanted to point out real quick is, as it said that on this particular card, the measurement from top to bottom was off. And to my own, as a critique of my own, I did not measure these cards. So one place that I found that I use this resource quite a bit when I'm looking for rookies and different information is the trading card database is a really good tool you can use. And one thing you can do is if you go in, you click on the sport that you're looking for, and then you can click on sets, select the year that you're looking for, and then the particular set that you're looking for. They have the standard size of the cards listed on there. So before you send a card in, when you're doing your initial evaluation, I would suggest, especially on vintage cards, again, something I'm learning as I go, you might want to take the time to measure it. What I've been using is just basically a square tool to, I can set the card kind of down in that corner and kind of get my horizontal and vertical measurements. And I would have probably easily detected that this particular card was short overall, or enough of a variation from the 3 3/4 height that is standard that it would have raised enough suspicion that maybe I'd have paid a little bit more attention to the top and bottom cuts there, or maybe even just not send it in completely, knowing that I was going to get an undersize with evidence of trimming. So again, just I think the importance of this video series was not to just show people the tools that I was using, but also I think it's important that we kind of learn. This is a new grader CSG. There's lots of I call it hypotheses out there, lots of not really data-driven opinions about what's going on with them. So I think it's fun and interesting to go through these types of exercises, and we can learn together. If you're watching the videos and enjoying them, that we can learn some stuff together. So I think just by looking at these two cards through the series of videos, I think we learned a few key things about CSG. One being clearly with Mosaic, maybe their methods of measuring centering are a little bit different than one would anticipate, or at least what I anticipated. So like I said, I'm going to keep an eye on that to see if they're consistent. I did kind of get verification that those weird breaks in the foil or the chrome on the Mosaic cards does not appear to have a significant impact on surface. And then I also verified that the print or roller lines that were on the back here, that's pretty common on Mosaic, also didn't seem to have much of a impact on the surface grade. And then I also learned a couple important lessons, which is maybe moving forward I can use that black and white filter to just kind of take a look at the consistency of the edges in comparison to one another, and see if one stands out as having maybe like an uneven cut, or just a significantly different look than the edges on the card. And then also just measuring the card in and of itself, and using tools like the trading card database to to get the sizes and measure the cards before I send them in, because CSG, they will charge you if you send a card in and they verify it as trim. It's still gone through the process. They still charge you for the card. So essentially, already here's 2 cards that I sent in that I paid for to be graded and encapsulated it or not. Now, I do think they will. I've seen videos where they will grade or encapsulate cards as authentic. I did not do that. I'm going to have to look and see if there's an option where you can select for them to do that. Excuse me. Had I done that, I probably would have gone ahead and had them encapsulate them as authentic anyways. But, that's again, something to learn. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video series. I enjoyed making it. I think I learned a lot. And as I continue doing videos and sending more cards in and reveals, hopefully we'll continue to learn and dial in from not just a modern or ultra modern card perspective, but vintage as well, kind of what CSG is looking for and what things will have the greatest impact on grades. So if you like the content, guys, I'd really appreciate it if you'd subscribe to the YouTube channel, throw me a like out there. Trying to grow the channel. I've been doing this now for, I'm not sure. I think this might be my 80th video, actually. And I've only got about 150 followers. So, it's really hard when you're starting out and there's so many different people doing this to, really get your name out there and get people watching. So I'd appreciate it if you give me a like, give me a share if you like the content on maybe some of your Facebook groups or Instagram groups, and follow me on Facebook if you're into that. And I will talk to you guys next time. Thanks for watching.